Hey, sociology students, welcome to week 4. I wanted to talk about module 6, which will be starting on Wednesday the 7th. So this will be the very last module for seminar 1, or excuse me, this will be the last seminar for module 1. And what we're going to talk about is, as you can see, it's all about ethics and research. Okay. So first and foremost, what this unit does is it looks back at some misfortunes in sociological research. Before we had what they call the Belmont Report, people kind of had free reign to do whatever they wanted to their subjects. All right, and two of them that really stick out was the Nazis. There was a guy named Karl Brandt who performed all kinds of testing on his Jewish prisoners, and at the Nuremberg trials he was found guilty, and I believe he was actually hanged. But, when he was a researcher, and he was Adolf Hitler's primary medical researcher, he performed all kinds of terrible tests on these people and killed many of them, and also left many of them disabled for the rest of their lives, their short lives, because there weren't any ethics standards put into place to, and unfortunately at that time, a lot of the people within the Nazi Party believed that Jews were less than human, so they performed these tests to kind of explore some research. One of the more popular ones from the United States was what they call the Tuskegee syphilis study, where over 600 African American males, starting in the 1930s, were actually infected with syphilis, which is a STD, and they tested the effects of different drugs on these students, or on these human beings. So, essentially what they really did was, they infected them with a disease just to kind of test to see what would work. And then really in the Belmont Report, which came out in the 70s, basically said no more. All right? There needs to be ethics, there needs to be standards for all research to be done. And the first thing is the three main principles. The first one is respect for persons. So in other words, everyone that is taking part of this needs to have what they call informed consent, and they need to be informed with information, what the test is about, the possible results of it. They need to be able to show that they have comprehension of what that is, and then they also need to volunteer. So at any given time, they can pull themselves out of that study, okay? The next term that we're going to talk about is called what they call benefice, and that just means that you cause no harm. All right, it means within the study it does not cause harm. And there were a couple from the reading that you'll probably talk about. One of them was Milligram's experiment, where he actually pretended he gave certain he gave college students, he put them in charge of a make-believe prison, and within that prison they were able to administer shock treatment to the people being treated, and he wanted to see how far someone would cause another person pain if they were told to. So he studied that. However, the people that were actually being tested were not in any pain, but the people who were administering the shock treatment thought that they actually were. And really what that found out was that people are willing and able to administer quite a bit of pain to other people when they're told to. And as a result, some of the people that took part in that study had long-term psychological damage because they found out things that they didn't necessarily want to find out about themselves. So there needs to be benefits, and you can't have it can cause no harm to the subjects or the people that are taking part of that. And then the last one is that we have justice, and that just means that the benefits are distributed equally. So what you'll do, obviously, is when we go back into this course, or when you go back into this course, again, you're going to read through the Engage section, and then you're going to go through the Explore. Now, here's a really good, actually, it's not really good. Here's a video about this. The speaker kind of gets tied up in his words, but it goes through and talks about Karl Brandt quite a bit. And again, make sure that you read through section 2.3 that's here. And the last thing that's really key is if you watch the research ethics involving human subjects, that really does a nice job of laying out the Belmont Report and the benefits of that. All right, so if you get time, I strongly encourage you to watch that. All right, now that's going to bring us to our discussion board. All right, and our discussion board this week is basically what it wants to know is, do you think that a code of ethics that sociologists are required to follow have a detrimental effect on experiments? In other words, would we know more about human beings if we did not have these? In other words, does the code of ethics prevent sociologists from gathering important and relevant data? I apologize for my spelling mistake. Or is the code of conduct in ethics necessary in research? So what I want you to do is I want you to post that. And again, that initial post is due by Sunday, the 11th, and your final post will be due by 3/13. So make sure that if you have not taken part of these in these discussion boards, that you do so. I want to remind everyone one more time that as of Wednesday morning, following that Tuesday, it's no longer available for any grading. Okay, I'm not going to be able to go back and I'm not going to grade that. So it automatically becomes a 0. So if you're not up to date, make sure that you are, because they are zeros. All right. Now, after you complete that discussion board, you're going to go into the quiz. All right. This quiz is only 4 questions long. Okay. If you know what value neutrality is and you know what the code of ethics are, you'll be in good shape. Okay. That's a matching exercise. There's a multiple choice question that's entirely about value neutrality and the role that Max Weber played in that. All right. And the last one kind of describes who should be able to fund a research project. All right. So if the school corporation wanted to fund a research project and they paid me a bunch of money and they wanted to know if chewing tobacco makes males more attractive to females. Well, if school's paying for it and they're giving me millions of dollars, I very well may be able to establish a study that shows that indeed females do find males chewing tobacco attractive. And I could report that and they would be able to use it on their commercials or what have you. Is that right? Probably not. All right. Or if they wanted to know about the effects of obesity on fast food, would it be fair for McDonald's to fund that? If if Facebook wanted to know, how it helps kids psychologically and sociologically, if Facebook paid for that, would I be able to come up with a fair study? Probably not. So another key aspect of doing research is looking at that funding source and where it comes from. If anyone's ever watched any Fox News, a lot of times they'll put out their reports that they have on a Fox News study. 98% of all Americans support Donald Trump, or something like that. Well, if that's put together by Fox News, which obviously has a very right stance, not right isn't correct, but right-wing stance, a lot of the Fox News watchers love Donald Trump. And the same token, if a very liberal media, what Donald Trump calls fake news, like CNN or MSNBC, did a study where they might only find that only 3% of the population like Donald Trump. Well, that's very different than what Fox News came up with. So it's important to know who is funding that, okay? And then that will be your quiz. And then the very last assignment that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to write the express, all right? And why do you think the ASA, the American Sociological Association, crafted such detailed set of ethical principles? What type of study could put human participants at risk? All right, so think of examples of studies that might be harmful. Do you think that in the name of sociology, some researchers might be tempted to cross boundaries that threaten human rights, and why? All right, so this is all about research. This topic is all about the ethics, okay? It should not be very difficult. So the key is to get in and to go ahead and work. Now, reminder, this is all due by March 13th, okay? And then following that, I am going to upload. You have Module 1 test, and I'm going to upload some questions and a study guide for that. So any questions, please reach out to me. All I need you to do is I need you to reply to this email or reply to this and say that you watched the entire thing and you understand it. And if you do that, I will automatically give 20 bonus points to you, all right? And this needs to be completed by March 16th. So if you watch this video and you reply to this part right here, I will give 20 bonus points. In case you didn't know, that accounts for about 40% of 1 unit. So it's definitely worth it if you do this, okay? All right, any questions, reach out to me. Bye.